Hey, it's Tom Frye back with another Deliberate Family Moment. I had someone ask me to address the topic of correcting our children. We often use the words correction, discipline, and punishment interchangeably. And while correction and discipline are very similar, punishment is something altogether different. As parents, whether we know it or not, our attitudes, our actions, our behaviors represent to our children the characteristics of God. If we're loving, nurturing, and involved, our children will better understand that God is the same. Sadly, however, if we're angry, authoritative, and distant, our children will likely perceive God the same way. That's not to say He is those things. It's just that our children receive their first understanding of who God is based on the example they see in us. This is certainly no less true in the area of discipline. Scripture says that God disciplines those He loves in Hebrews 12:6. Discipline is rooted in love and is meant for our betterment. That is not only because of the connection between our behavior and the perception of God's character, but also because learning self-discipline is something that will benefit our children in so many ways as they grow into adulthood, from their studies, their health, their personal finance, and their career. Punishment, however, is not about correction, but rather justice and separation. Paul tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 that Jesus became our sin, thereby taking our punishment so that we could become His righteousness. So as parents, I think it's always important to ask ourselves what boundaries we need to put in place so that our correction is best reflective of the nature of God. First and foremost, we never want to discipline in anger. Doing so will look like and often can become punishment. This may require both of us, parent and child, to take a time out for the child to consider what they've done wrong and for the parent to cool down so that they can truly discipline. Secondly, discipline is never demeaning. It doesn't teach our children that they're shameful or stupid, but rather that they're loved. And third, discipline always comes with a teachable moment. Often parents will ask which form of discipline is appropriate. To this, I will offer two answers. The most appropriate form of discipline is the one that most effectively instructs your child. This can vary depending on your child's personality or on the circumstances. And I always feel that anytime a parent can connect the means of discipline with the action that needs corrected, the more effective it'll be. This may require some creativity to think outside of the box, so let me give you an example. Our daughters are 17 months apart, and when they were old enough to bathe unattended, we would let them play in the bathtub. At some point, they began to fill the tub up to where the water would splash out on the floor, and when my wife or I would go in to get them out, our feet would get soaked. So we made a rule that they could not fill the water past the tub stopper. This worked for a while, but after a few times of this rule being either forgotten or ignored, I gave them a discipline to help them remember it. We dried them off, got them out of the tub, got them dressed, and then gave them a small cup and instructed them to empty the tub one cup at a time into the bathroom sink. They're now both wives and mommies, but they still talk about that. And guess what? They never overflowed the tub again. As far as the other more traditional forms of correction, though, I would simply offer these 2 pointers. Know your child's personality well enough to understand which form of discipline will most effectively direct them. And secondly, study the sections of Scripture that deal specifically with discipline. Discipline is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. It is a loving and consistent way to prepare our children to live out their God-given purpose. I hope this has been helpful, and remember, if you have a question about parenting, marriage, or personal discipleship that you would like for me to consider for an upcoming Deliberate Moment, email info@deliberatefamilies.com. And also, if you would like to inquire about life coaching or health coaching, or if you would like to bring my family to your church for a concert, a worship service, or a Deliberate Family event, you can email us as well at info@DeliberateFamilyMinistries.com. Until next time, this is Tom reminding you to live deliberately.